Welcome to Taste China Learn English. We are so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for being here with us.
So, for this deep dive, we're doing something a little bit special, right? This conversation is designed specifically for English beginners.
Exactly. That means we're going to, intentionally use simple, accessible vocabulary today.
Right, and we'll try to speak at a nice, slow, comfortable pace. Because, well, learning a language is just much easier when you're actually interested in the topic.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to just sit and read a boring textbook.
Exactly. So today, instead of a textbook, we are diving into a really fascinating guide all about Cantonese street food.
Oh, it is such a great topic. And it really matters for you, the listener, whether you're, traveling or eating out at a local spot or just wanting to describe food perfectly in English.
Right. Picking up this descriptive vocabulary is huge. So our mission today is to explore one specific dish. In English, we call it dry fried beef river noodles.
Yeah, or ganqiao niu in
Yeah.
Chinese.
Right. And, on the surface, it sounds super basic. Just beef, noodles, oil, and like a few vegetables.
It does sound basic. Yeah.
But what really surprised me in our source material is that this seemingly simple dish is actually the ultimate test of a Chinese chef's skill.
It really is. I mean, if you want to test a Cantonese chef's true skill, you don't order some huge, complicated banquet dish.
Right. You order the dry fried beef river noodles
Hmm.
because, well, there's just nowhere to hide poor technique, right?
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that the entire success of the dish comes down to a core concept called woke.
Okay. Okay, let's unpack this for our listeners because the wok is that big, deep, round metal pan they use in Chinese cooking, right?
Yeah, that's the woke. And woke translates to, well, the breath of the woke.
The breath of the wok. Oh, wow, that sounds so poetic.
It does, doesn't it? But it refers to a very specific, um, complex, smoky flavor. You really can't just buy this flavor in a bottle at the store.
Right, it's created purely by the technique, right? Like
Mhm.
the source mentions they have to use searing heat.
Yeah. Yeah, searing heat, meaning the fire is so intense, so incredibly hot, it almost melts the metal pan.
Wait, really? So if the pan is hundreds of degrees hot, why don't the thin noodles just immediately burn to a crisp?
Well, that's the magic. I mean,
Yeah.
the secret is really the movement. The chef uses a technique of quick tossing.
Oh, right. So they aren't just, slowly stirring the food around with a spoon.
No, not at all. They use the curved shape of the woke to literally throw the ingredients up into the air, like over and over again.
Okay, so it's almost like a high-speed dance. If you hesitate or, step out of rhythm, the whole routine just falls apart.
That is a perfect way to describe it. The noodles only touch the searing hot metal for a tiny fraction of a second.
Right, just enough to get that smoky, charred flavor, but then they fly through the cooler air so they don't burn.
Exactly. But, what happens if the chef is tired and they just decide to turn the heat down to make it easier to manage?
Oh, yeah, the source was very clear about this. If the heat is too low, the whole dish is just ruined. The food stops frying and it just starts steaming.
Yeah, the ingredients just sort of steam in their own juices. And the guide tells us that leaves the noodles completely soggy.
Soggy, that is such a great descriptive English word for our listeners to learn today.
It is, but it's a terrible condition for a meal.
Definitely. Soggy means wet, soft, and just losing all its shape. Like if you drop a piece of paper in a puddle of water, right?
Yeah, exactly. In cooking, a soggy noodle has just absorbed way too much water. It becomes a sad, mushy paste in your mouth.
Ugh, nobody wants that. So you really need that high heat to push the water out into the air as steam.
Right. And because the heat is so intense and the tossing is so fast, the main ingredient, the noodles themselves, have to be handled perfectly.
Which brings us to the star of the dish. In the south of China, these wide, flat rice noodles are called ho fun.
Ho fun, yeah. And the guide has some very specific, strict requirements for how these noodles should be. First, they need to be springy.
Springy. We use that word to describe something that bounces back into its original shape when you bite it or press it.
Like a fresh rubber band.
Yeah.
They push back gently against your teeth.
Right. The Italian term al dente is also used in the source to describe this, meaning they are firm to the bite.
Firm to the bite, exactly. But here is the really tricky part. While keeping them springy, the chef also has to make sure they don't clump together.
Oh, clumping. To clump means to stick together tightly in a heavy group. Like nobody wants to eat a giant clump of wet rice noodles.
No, definitely not. It's a disaster. So to stop them from clumping, every single strand of the noodle must be evenly coated.
Evenly coated, meaning the dark soy sauce and the cooking oil have to wrap around the entire surface of every individual noodle.
Exactly. The oil acts like a physical barrier. It stops them from sticking to each other, and it stops them from sticking to the wok.
Okay, I understand the theory, but the mechanics really confuse me here. If the chef is pouring oil into the pan to coat hundreds of noodles, where does all that oil go?
Right, like how does it not get super heavy?
Exactly. How does a chef coat every single noodle with oil without making the whole plate incredibly oily and terrible for your stomach?
Well, this is exactly what separates an average cook from a master. The guide uses a specific phrase for this perfect result. The dish must be glossy, but not greasy.
Glossy but not greasy. Let's break those two words down for our beginners because glossy is a highly positive word.
Yes, glossy means it shines beautifully in the light, like a freshly polished mirror or like a new silk shirt.
Right, you want your food to look glossy, but greasy is almost always a negative word when we talk about food.
Very negative. Greasy means the food is dripping with heavy, unpleasant fat. It leaves a nasty pool of oil at the bottom of your plate.
So, how on earth does the chef achieve that beautiful glossy shine without the gross, greasy feeling?
It all connects back to that searing heat we discussed earlier. The wok is so incredibly hot that the oil doesn't just sit there as a liquid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it instantly vaporizes. It turns into a fine, hot mist in the air right above the pan.
That is fascinating. So, the chef is not stirring the noodles through a pool of liquid oil, they are tossing the noodles through a cloud of vaporized oil.
Exactly right. By rapidly tossing the food through that smoky mist, they coat the noodles in this microscopic layer of fat.
Just enough to make them shine beautifully, making them glossy, but leaving no heavy liquid behind.
Exactly. When you finish eating a perfect plate of these noodles, the bottom of the plate should be completely dry.
Glossy, but not greasy. The intense heat solves the very problem it creates. That's brilliant.
It really is. So we now have perfect noodles. They're springy, they're glossy, they have that smoky flavor. But a plate of only soft noodles can get a bit boring to eat.
Right, your mouth needs variety. Which brings us to the supporting cast, the aromatics and the protein.
Yeah, the aromatics of the base, right? The ginger, the scallions, and the bean sprouts. They build that strong, beautiful smell.
And when that ginger hits the searing hot metal, oh, the smell fills the whole street. But the bean sprouts do something much more important than just smell good, don't they?
They do. The expert guide explains that the bean sprouts provide a crucial, crunchy texture.
Crunchy, that's another wonderful word. It describes a firm object that breaks with a sharp, loud sound when you bite into it.
Like biting into a fresh carrot or stepping on dry leaves in the forest, it creates a satisfying snap.
Exactly. That crunchy snap perfectly balances out the soft, springy noodles. It keeps the physical experience of eating exciting.
It does. Now, the vegetables provide the crunch,
Yeah.
but here's where it gets really interesting. The beef.
Yes, the beef presents a huge problem because we established that the wok is essentially a roaring fire. If you throw a thin slice of raw beef in there, won't it just instantly dry out and become tough like leather?
You would definitely think so.
Yeah.
But the chef protects the meat using a traditional Chinese technique mentioned in the source called velveting.
Velveting, like the thick, soft, luxurious cloth.
Yeah.
Velvet.
Exactly like the fabric. The chef uses this technique to make the meat incredibly succulent and silky.
Oh, I love those words. But how do you turn a piece of muscle into velvet? What's the actual process?
Well, they create a physical shield around the meat before it ever touches the fire. They marinate the beef in a mixture that usually includes cornstarch, egg whites, and a little liquid.
Oh, I see. So they are essentially painting the meat with a special coating. What happens when that coating hits the searing heat?
The extreme heat hits the cornstarch and egg white, and it instantly cooks and hardens into a microscopic shell.
Wait, really?
Yeah, this shell takes the damage from the fire, it stops the heat from violently tightening the meat fibers, and more importantly, it locks all the natural juices inside the beef.
So the starch takes the hit so the beef doesn't have to. The moisture cannot escape. That is brilliant.
It is. And that technique results in meat that is incredibly succulent.
Succulent, meaning it is overflowing with juices and rich flavor, like a perfect ripe peach or a great steak.
Exactly. Because the shell trapped the water inside, the beef just bursts with liquid when you bite it,
Yeah.
and it also becomes silky.
Silky, which describes the outside feeling, right? Silk is the smoothest fabric in the world, so the meat literally slides smoothly across your tongue.
Exactly. So if we look at the entire dish now, we see this incredible masterclass and balance. Searing heat for the smoky breath of the wok.
Right.
Rapid tossing for a glossy, vaporized oil coating. Bean sprouts for a crunchy contrast. And velveting for succulent, silky beef.
It takes absolute intense focus to manage all of those elements at the exact same time in a pan that is hundreds of degrees hot. It really is a high-speed
It
performance.
truly is an art form.
Well, before we finish our deep dive today, let's gently review the key descriptive English words we learned. Hearing these again will help lock them into your memory, for the next time you discuss a meal.
Reviewing vocabulary in context is definitely the best way to learn.
Right. So first we explored the word soggy. This is a negative word, meaning food has absorbed too much liquid, becoming heavy and wet. We do not want soggy noodles.
And then we learn springy. This describes a lively texture that bounces back when pressed. A perfect noodle should be springy.
We talked about being evenly coated, meaning a sauce perfectly wraps around every part of an ingredient, leaving no dry spots.
Which helps the food become glossy, but not greasy. Glossy means it shines beautifully. Greasy means it is covered in heavy, unpleasant fat. We want the shine, not the fat.
Yes, definitely. Then we discussed crunchy. That's the loud, satisfying snap when you bite through a firm vegetable, like a bean sprout.
And finally, we learned about the velveting technique, which makes meat succulent and silky. Succulent means full of rich juices, and silky means incredibly smooth.
Those are powerful, highly descriptive words to add to your English vocabulary. Now, before we say goodbye, does the source guide offer any practical advice for the listener? Like, if they want to go out and taste this masterpiece, what should they look for?
Yes, it offers a really great piece of advice. If you want to find the absolute best keofen or stir-fried noodles, look for a street stall with a massive roaring fire.
Oh, okay, look for the fire.
Look for the fire and listen for the loud, rhythmic crashing sound of the wok being tossed. That big fire and that loud tossing guarantee the chef is creating the true woke, the breath of the wok.
Look for the big fire. Listen for the rhythm. That is wonderful, actionable advice. Well, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to ponder on your own.
Oh, I love these.
We just spent a long time uncovering the complex science, timing, and temperature control required to make what looks like a basic plate of noodles. It's truly an illusion of simplicity.
It really is.
So, what other everyday things in your life seem incredibly simple on the surface, but actually require absolute mastery of technique to get just right?
That's a fascinating thing to think about.
Right. Take a look around your world today and try to spot the hidden skills that make life work smoothly. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the special Easy English Deep Dive.
Yes, thank you for listening and learning with us.
We hope you picked up some valuable vocabulary and gained a new appreciation for the art of cooking. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more language and cultural explorations. We look forward to learning with you again next time.